Folks, man, I picked up a record yesterday. I was like, oh, what's that? And I kind of know now 70s funk vibes, and I love that stuff. And so I was going through some of these records at a local store just before work, and I was like, what is that? If you know who James Jamerson is, and if you know who James Gadson is, and if you know who Jeff Porcaro is, you need, and you like them, and you understand why you should like them, you need to get this album. Don't be fooled by the cover, right? I'm sure the lady, when I bought it, was like, No. I picked it up in the back here. Right here. Jeff Porcaro is playing next to James Jamerson. He's about 22 years old in this song. 1977, 23 maybe. Playing next to James Jamerson. The father of like heavy melodic bass groove. The father. I saw it, I was like... The other songs? James Gadson, the king of pocket. Shuffle pocket. Just... Ugh. James Gadson playing next to James Jamerson on all the tracks. Young Jeffrey Porcaro at like 22, 23 playing next to James Jamerson? Are you kidding me? I'm going to be able to hear this on vinyl? Are you kidding me? This album, okay, the band is called The Originals, and the album title, Down to Love Town. Okay, Down to Love Town, that was a #1 hit, previously released on their album called Communique. I think I'm saying that right. I think it was actually a French term, Communique. Anyway, previously released like a year or so before, comes out on this album, Down to Love Town, on the I had to write it down. On the Billboard Hot list, it went to, out of 100, Billboard Hot 100, went to number 47. On the Billboard R&B, #1. On the Billboard Dance Club, #1. Young Jeffrey Porcaro playing with James Jamerson. That's the song title that went to #1. Jeffrey Porcaro, young, 22, 23. Hits a #1 R&B and dance club tune. Playing alongside James Jamerson. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you want to hear the James Jamerson that you have always wished you could hear, that is to say, a clean album where you just have the impression that the guy said, just go. Just let loose everything you do. And alongside an oozing pocket of James Gadson and Jeff Porcaro, this album, please go get it. Now, the style of this in 1977, it was disco dance. Okay, so I'm not necessarily into disco dance stuff. I have a lot more funk stuff, but the disco dance stuff's where you can get those high shuffles, up-tempo shuffles, and obviously pocket, and then you have all sorts of nice 16th note based fiery drum fills that aren't happening anymore, which is a tragedy. I love doing them, but anyway, get this album. You have like other bands that James Jamerson played on, notably Marvin and Gaye's What's Going On album, right? He's credited to being That's like the golden album of his. But those songs are medium tempos, slow tempos. This album, you get to hear him fly alongside James Gadson and Jeff Porcaro. It's just unbelievable to hear these two interweave the pocket and these heavy bass melodic grooves. I swear, it's one of the best examples of James Jamerson alongside these two drummers at this tempo. There are other albums you will find either that are slower tempos or the recording quality is not as high level, as hi-fi as this album. And especially, I mean, I have it on vinyl. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Now, curiously, James Jamerson, a little story here. James Jamerson is the father of the melodic groove bass line. He's hands down the father of it. Usually, typically, people would say one finger, but anyway, hands down. And even Sly Stone, bassist, forget his name, heaven forgive me for that, blockage, because I'm thinking of James Jamerson so much, openly admitted having been influenced by James Jamerson. Jamerson, when Motown originally started in Detroit, okay, Motown comes out, and typical Motown, after the explosion of Motown, years later, it moves to LA. The founder of Motown wants to go to LA. The whole label goes to LA to break into the movie industry thing. And they didn't take James Jamerson. Consequently, his health starts to deteriorate. Alcoholism and just health issues, which, you know, if you are the father of those grooves and are credited with so many number ones, and then all of a sudden the label just leaves and doesn't take you, and I mean, that would destroy anybody's morale. There was a new wave coming out, slap bass, and Jamerson wasn't too into it. Obviously, for obvious reasons, it's cool for a little while, but when slap bass is kind of just too overwhelming when it's fast, and you lose a lot of the melodic lines. You have more of a bombardment of bass tones, and you can't really follow note to note like you can with the melodic lines. I would say slap bass is almost the equivalent to what's happening in drumming and gospel drumming. It's just a bombardment. Yes, it's cool. I'm not saying it's not cool. But when you're searching for that classic bassline melodic groove that just coasts through the song and the changes, and obviously in an improvised fashion, it's not just some fixed bass line. This is what was so glorious about James Jamerson. You would do it, the song, he would do it, he would never do it the same way twice. When you understand what that thing that he's doing, when you understand what it's all about, you understand that that's one of the glorious parts about it. He's improvising through the groove. And playing along next to James Gadson and Jeff Porcaro. This album, go get it. Just for the sake of listening to that relationship. And again, how beautiful to hear Jeffrey Porcaro at about 22 years old toasting with James Jamerson, born in 1933. Jeff was born in 1954. I mean, just amazing. Just amazing. Just put it on and listen, focus to the drums and the bass. James Jamerson also is on the entire album. Most albums, there are not a lot of albums where he's the bass player on the album. He does a track here, a track there. Marvin Gaye's one is one of those. But this one, it's a heaven's treat to listen to. This is a piece of gold for drummers and bass players. If you don't know this album, go get it. Granted, it's disco, it's up-tempo, but just for who it is and listening to that relationship and hearing James Jamerson just coast through the changes, long songs, not 2-minute hit wonders, long, and they're grooving. $5. One of the best $5 I've spent in a long, long, long time. The originals. Down to Lovetown. More soon. Ciao.